We are just 10 days away from Election Day, and as of this morning, early voting is underway in 36 states. More than 53 million people have already gone to the ballot box or a ballot drop box or have cast their vote by mail. Of course, the coronavirus is changing when and how we vote, and that has launched an intense political and legal battle over the ballot itself. A modern-day skirmish in a struggle nearly as old as the Republic. Here's Ed O'Keefe.
It's already a familiar sight. From coast to coast, Americans are lining up to vote.
Georgians are facing long lines and long waits.
Earlier this month in Georgia, some voters waited 8 hours to cast their ballots in person. There's been record turnout in some parts of Texas, by foot and automobile. November 3rd may be a national election, but in practice, it's local ballot and election laws that govern how Americans vote in each state, district, and territory.
Would it be easier if every American voted on the same kind of ballot?
It could be a lot easier.
Lawrence Norden is director of the Election Reform Program at the nonpartisan Brennan Center for Justice.
Unfortunately, we have such different rules around the country that make having a common ballot very difficult.
This year, it's estimated at least half of us will vote early or by mail. Millions.
I never was into politics.
Like 79-year-old Sandra Ware in Saginaw, Michigan, are exercising their right for the very first time.
I don't want to start crying. I felt very powerful.
All of which means
So the design of the ballot is actually a really big factor for many people.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Norden says the past offers countless cautionary tales. Like 2 years ago in Broward County, Florida, where the ballot's unusual design may have confused just enough voters to tip the race away from Democratic Senator Bill Nelson in favor of his Republican challenger, Rick Scott. And who can forget the 2000 presidential election, when confusion over the infamous butterfly ballot in Palm Beach County, Florida, likely cost Al Gore the White House.
It is complicated, it's not very attractive, it's not very organized, but in a way, it's far better than it used to be.
Alicia Cheng is author of the book, This Is What Democracy Looked Like, a visual history of the printed ballot released earlier this year. Looking back at a century and a half of American elections, she found that voting used to be designed very differently.
What drew you originally to this was the color of the ballots, right?
Well, the fact that they were colorful at all.
Cheng is a graphic designer by trade, and she's been researching ballots as a hobby for years. In her book, she writes, their typography, their designs, and even the paper they were printed on have a story to tell. They speak to changing notions of what elections are, whom they include and exclude, and the political possibilities they offer. From ballots printed using a simple letterpress in 1817 to multicolored ballots listing the 1878 Republican ticket in Massachusetts.
It's bonkers. First of all, how is that possibly a ballot?
Or how about this 14-foot scroll for a New York City Democratic primary that Cheng uncovered at the New York Public Library?
Mm-hmm. The one that really threw me was the so-called tapeworm ballot.
Oh, yeah. That's a doozy. It's about sort of the size of sort of like a really big fortune cookie slip, and they were able to get, I think, like 26 names in there. And it was only after they tried it twice that the California legislature was like, you know what, this is ridiculous.
Many of the ballots reveal the gravity of what was at stake as a young nation evolved in the 19th century, like this Mississippi ballot from 1868.
You know, here's a ballot that was produced during, Reconstruction, and the voter can clearly, he redlined through all of the options presented to him. For Constitution was against Constitution, just right down the line.
Cheng also found ballots produced by the California Working Men's Party, whose platform centered on protecting the jobs of white workers from Chinese immigrants. For decades, ballots were produced by the political parties, not the states, often forcing straight party line votes.
Having a ballot now that has all the candidates listed on one sheet of paper, that's kind of a radical idea. And this only started happening, say, in the early 1900s, where an Australian format was adopted that had all the candidates listed by office. Whereas before, each party themselves printed the ballots, which is kind of nuts to think of now.
And in the past, voting was considered a form of entertainment.
Imagine a period where there was no amusement parks or movies, and election and all the hullabaloo within that was the entertainment. So it was a massive spectacle, barbecues and fireworks and cannon fire, and something that everyone was talking about.
Today, food and fireworks are less common on Election Day, Instead, there's worry about voter access and how quickly ballots can be counted.
If you plan to vote by mail this coming November, be sure to mail back 2 envelopes or else your ballot will be thrown in the trash.
That's a serious concern in a number of states, including the key battleground of Pennsylvania, with its so-called naked ballot, a term that refers to the blank envelope a ballot must be placed in before it's returned.
Which states or areas of states are you guys most concerned about in terms of being able to properly manage their elections?
In particular, when we're talking about design challenges, any state that is moving from where only a small number of people were voting by mail to large percentages, that could be Pennsylvania, that could be Georgia, that could be Ohio.
From poll levers to computer screens, the evolution of voting has always been bumpy, as Alyssa Cheng so artfully illustrates.
So you're a designer. You think about this a lot. How would you design the perfect ballot?
I think I would not only design the ballot, I would expand my scope and propose that we try to take a look at the whole system. You know, voter registration, maybe the signage is better located so that you don't make basically a county level election official be the art director for how these ballots get made.
So you're saying if there's a vacancy at the Board of Elections, you're interested?
Yeah, I'd do it. I would. It's super sexy, but I would step up.
For CBS This Morning Saturday,
So excited for today!
Ed O'Keefe, Washington.
I love her. I'll vote for her to be the one that's designing.
Here's my ballot. I'm voting for Michelle and Dana.
For your co-host for life.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
We vote for you too, Jeffrey.
That's a great background there for you, Dana.
Yeah, it is.
That's fantastic.
Very patriotic.
Get a picture of that.
Everybody go out and